What's going on, guys? Zephonix here, and I got a message through Steam talking about is hard8 lying, or if he is not lying, then why hasn't he said this before? So basically, he sent me a link to a video that hard8 did. Now, hard8times did a video talking about Project Scorpion. Now, for those who don't know what Project Scorpion is, I don't know why, but let me go ahead and catch you up to date real quick. Project Scorpion is Microsoft's next console after the Xbox One. Who knows what the hell they're going to call it? Xbox 2, Xbox 2.5, Xbox whatever. Infinity? I don't know. Their naming conventions is about as bad as the Wii. I'm just saying, Nintendo and the Wii was not a very good naming convention. And the Switch, it took some time getting used to it, but don't make it good. Anyway, moving on. So that's when Microsoft created the new console, or working on their new console, and they promoted it in the last E3. Now, it was said to be the most powerful console at that point in time. It's going to be their most powerful and possibly their final console. So, and it's supposed to be more powerful than a PC. I mean, listen, that's extremely hard to go ahead and measure, okay? Because it's highly depending on what kind of PC you get. But anyway, it's beside the point. And believe me, every time someone says that, it's either not true or it's only true for a limited time, so why even bother even saying it? Anyway, so here's the thing. hard8times video was talking about how there was a strong, how basically none of the most powerful consoles out there ever actually won the console war. Was he lying? No, he wasn't lying, but that's not 100% accurate either. At least I don't think it's accurate. I think there was only one console that actually, you know, did the opposite of that and actually won the console war, if I can remember correctly. And I could be wrong, you know, so you guys might want to help me out with this one. So let's start from the very beginning. Well, let's not start from the beginning. Let's start from where it matters, and that's the NES, the original Nintendo. Now, the original Nintendo did win the console war in that particular era. However, it is known that there was an Atari console out there that actually was more superior. Now, it came out, and it did not make a buzz in any shape or form. I know it came out, however, no one really knew it even came out. It was that, like, Nintendo had that kind of a stranglehold on the industry at that point in time. So, Nintendo definitely won that one, even though it wasn't the most powerful. In fact, I believe Sega actually came out there, and I believe Sega was more powerful too. I believe the original Sega Master System was more powerful. So yeah, that is definitely a thing. Next would be the Super Nintendo era, where Genesis actually won. Now, I know a lot of people's like, well, no, Super Nintendo won that one. No, not really. No, they're like, look at the sales, look at the sales. No, let me explain to you why. During the time in which Sega went over to their 32-bit console, which was the Sega Saturn, Sega, with their Genesis, had about a 32% hold on gamer households everywhere, thus meaning they won. You know, they had more out there. You know, they were actually winning. The reason why you'll see, look at the Super Nintendo and notice how the prices the sales are so high is because Nintendo skipped over the 32-bit era. And what they did was they just continued on with the actual, with their actual Super Nintendo. I'm not sure why they did that per se, but that's what they did. So, so they kept releasing games for it, so sales kept coming for it. So it is what it is, you know. Nonetheless, yes, in my opinion, you know, and a lot of people's opinions, you know, when it comes down to it, whomever is the person to go ahead over to the next generation first signals the next generation is here. So, and seeing that Super Nintendo skipped said generation, it's only fair to go by that particular rule of who went over to the generation and what was the state of gaming at that point. The state of gaming was that Sega was winning, so there you go. Plus, you gotta understand, Sega was, this truck is behind me and he's getting rather close. Oh, sorry, man, it's Floridian drivers, man. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so yeah. At that particular point, yes, Sega was definitely winning that particular one. Moving over to the next generation, was the 32-bit era. Now, the 32-bit era really didn't have too many. It had the Jaguar, it had the PlayStation, and it had the Sega Saturn. Now, Sega Saturn was definitely weaker than the PlayStation, but I'm going to go on I think the Jaguar was actually weaker as well. Now, I don't have the stats offhand, but I definitely know for a fact that I played games such as the strongest game on the Jaguar was Aliens vs. Predator, and it really wasn't that strong, and yet that thing was like 20 or maybe 15 frames per second, okay? So with that in mind, it is definitely a very good chance that I think it was 50 frames per second, 15 frames per second. Keep in mind, I'm saying 15. I'm not saying 50. 15. But anyway, my point was that, yeah, Sega Saturn, PlayStation was definitely stronger than the Jaguar, at least offhand. I believe that's what it was, which basically means that the PlayStation was the strongest console, which means that they won the console war. So yeah, in that case, it was definitely not true, because PlayStation won the console war. When PlayStation 2 came out, but keep in mind, PlayStation won because of their medium. They were one of the first consoles not to have like an attachment or something like that and still be able to go ahead and play CDs. You know, you just had to buy the console and that's it. You know, so there you go. The second one was the same reason. PlayStation 2 came out, and PlayStation 2 it was the first cheap DVD player. At the time, DVD was big, so, you know, obviously people had to get it. It was just common sense to get the PlayStation. So, and then the games just start flowing out there. So, I mean, it's arguable. It's an argument to have saying that both the PlayStation and, by extension, the PlayStation 3, a lot of their systems weren't really there for games. They were there because of the said medium that was hooked up to it. So, you know, basically, you know, a lot of people bought the PlayStation 2 because of the DVD player, which, for the record, I know a lot of people who actually did do that. And the same thing with PlayStation. I don't know a lot of people who actually purchased it for a Blu-ray player, but I mean, whatever, right? I don't have any, you know, it's just, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, PlayStation 2 won that one, but PlayStation 2 was not the strongest console. The Nintendo 64 was well, Xbox was stronger, and put it that way. Xbox was much stronger than one, because that was Nintendo 64, but that was on something else. So, anyway, yeah, Nintendo 64 was definitely, no, Nintendo 64 I think was by itself, now that I think about it. Actually, now that I think about it, Jaguar might have been part of the 64-bit generation. If that was the case, then Nintendo 64 won that particular one. It's hard to really gauge that particular era right there with the whole 32-bit and 64-bit one. But either way, Jaguar lost. So that's what you're going to take from that. Jaguar lost, okay? And Jaguar lost big. So if Jaguar lost, even if it was a 64-bit or the 32-bit, the fact of the matter is that when they lost, the other consoles won. There you go. So, and at the time, the only two powerful consoles out there was the PlayStation 2 and the winners were the PlayStation 2, and then the 64-bit was Nintendo 64. And yeah, so they won that one, and they were the most powerful console. So those two particular generations won. There you go. If you want to count those as generations. Anyway, moving on. PlayStation 2 generation won, but it was not the most powerful console. The GameCube was actually more powerful, I believe, than the PlayStation 2, and then Xbox was definitely the most powerful out of the three. So that you had that one going on there too. So with the PlayStation 3 out there, PlayStation 3 was the most powerful, but it did not win. The Wii won, and therefore, you know, it was the weakest console. Therefore, it won. So there you go. That's pretty much your whole history in a nutshell. So there you go. So was a hard8 lying? No, he wasn't lying. Obviously, he wasn't lying. But at the same time, you know, what he said was right about 80% of the time. Excuse me, I had to crack my neck there. So yeah, 80% of the time, he was definitely right, you know. But it's pretty much a given that the most powerful console will not be the winner, you know. It's all about the adoption rate, you know. And there's a stronger chance, always a stronger chance, that the weaker console, assuming of course that the price is weaker as well, will be the most adopted console out there. You know, if in fact the PlayStation 4 was in fact, you know, we'll just say $500, where the Xbox was maybe $350 or even $400 or even $450, there's a stronger chance that the Xbox would be in the lead. But it isn't, so it's not. So there you go. You know, no sense of hypothesizing. And it's not. You know, it is what it is. Now, sometimes that whole situation doesn't really work out that way. The Wii U did not was cheaper than all of them, and still is not the winner of the console war for its generation. And at the same time, when it comes to the whole thing with the Switch and all that, I haven't even thought about where that even lies in terms of. I'm going to put them both in the same exact category, in my opinion. They're both part of the whole PlayStation 4, Xbox One thing. You know, I got to put it that way, because in most cases, I will disagree with you in terms of strength of a console, making the next generation, quote unquote. It's all about the timeline. But with this being said, I mean, the Wii U was out in such a short amount of time, and it just, like, in my opinion, it was too short of a time frame to go ahead and talk about next generation, it being a next generation console. You know, not enough time has passed, not enough time for technology to go ahead and grow enough to go ahead and get a next generation. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the same category as this generation. You know, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. Anyway, that's my thought. So the next question was, well, why haven't hard8times said it before? You know, he has, actually. This is something that every gamer who's not a console freaking whore, you know, real gamers know this. You know, they know about the whole thing regarding, you know, a lot of times the most strongest console is not the winner. It has nothing to do with how strong your console is, but the adoption rate of both the gamers as well as the developers. In other words, who got more games? You know, that's pretty much where it is. So, I mean, you can't really blame hard8times if you did not know this. On top of that, and I'm just being honest here, I mean, he has said it, and he has said it multiple times, that the strongest console is not the actual, you know, is rarely ever the winner. And he has said it multiple times. So, we've all said it multiple times. So, I mean, there you go. I mean, I know probably you were looking to go ahead and, you know, come at hard8times with this particular one, you know, try to get him. But honestly, you can't. You know, you can't. Because he has said it before. I've said it before. Anyone who's actually remotely smart has said it before, because we know. Anyway, you guys have a good night. Zeph out.